So this is a little bit of my afterthoughts on the what's the name of the video I did? John Jones video. Could John Jones be saved in the Nutty Putty Cave? It got 77 views, and there are some other things that I have watched on the cave, on his death, if you will. And I do like to mix it up at times on this channel and do like videos, like that, talking about stuff like that, because I know a lot of people may think, oh man, this channel is just for political, awoke topic events, and it is, and I also share my experiences, with a lot of things that I have grew up when came up seeing, experience, especially people around me, somebody who is of a very mixed race, somebody again who is Native American, which is Cherokee, Jamaican, South African, Egyptian, and Italian. So I share a lot of my point of views on a lot of different things, in a very knowledgeable way, even though people don't like knowledgeable way because they expect me to yell at the phone and be, you know, quote unquote ratchet or a hood rat. No, because I'd like being calm about things like that and really, trying to go into detail. And I do like doing videos, like this. Like, I got a couple of ghost story videos on here, and I share some of my experiences, with the paranormal as well. Because, it's life, Some people experience it, some people don't, and I do share my thoughts and beliefs at times when it comes to, religion and beliefs. And I don't really consider myself a man of God like that. I'm a believer, but I'm more so of a more spiritual person. But you know I do like doing videos like this on this channel. And I watched another video that somebody has done on John Jones, and he was around 6 foot tall. I would imagine that there are people, definitely, his height, that probably, been cave diving, people that, probably have gotten stuck and, could get out, rather if it was face down you know, or not. I would imagine, I'd done some exploring in my time and tried to explore some places I could in the town that I stay at. Not very much left to even see at all. And a lot of them videos, are on my Jazzy Entertainment channel. You guys can find that, where it says channels at on this channel, regardless if it's on your mobile device or on desktop. And, I haven't been in situations where I'm going to go in somewhere and get stuck, but I have been through some things like outdoor stuff, for example, where I thought I was going to get stuck and I still managed to squeeze through. And for when it comes to us men, John Jones wanted to go back to this cave tunnel because he wanted to still go through, I guess, another part of the cave that he done when he was younger. And I forget how, I think he was going into his 30s or so, something along that line. Because I'm about to be 31, so that should give a good time or a good age range for John Jones. Because I do believe he was in his early 30s or so, or I believe 36, if I remember correctly. I do know he was in his 30s. You know, when it comes to men, you know, when we hit the age of 25, our bodies are going to start blowing up, and we have to really try to take care of ourselves, physically, to look good, to try to keep slim, down. And that's also because we lose testosterone levels as well. So sometimes, we need a bit of an extra boost. And when we hit our 30s, we really trying to do what we can to try to stay active, to try and stay definitely in shape. For some men, they can be skinny their whole lives and not have to worry about that. But for a whole lot of others, we have to worry about that. So I forget the weight that they said John Jones was, but there comes to a certain point, when it comes to a certain age again, we not going to be able to fit in through a lot of things at all. And I believe inside in his mind, like, man, I know I can't fit through this, but I'm gonna do it anyways, type of deal. And I know somebody wants to say something like, oh man, they didn't have a bad marriage, you got false information, stop spreading false information. I deleted that comment because, one, I'm gonna hold my tongue. But the reason why I deleted that comment is because him and his wife, these were the reports that came out about their relationships with their marriage after his death. These are reports that are definitely out there way before I even did this video. This is about almost 11 years. So these reports been out there with these two having marital and relationship difficulties. It ain't me spreading false information about that. This is stuff that is out there. These are the same exact reports that were reported back then when you look it up online, and even when people doing the story on it on YouTube. So it's not me spreading false information. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. You're going to do what you can to really save your relationship, man. Even if it means, look, I just want to go, let's go exploring for a while. Let's kind of rebuild our bond, and that's what they love to do. They like to explore. They're outdoors people. So it's not me spreading false information saying that they had a bad marriage and a rocky relationship. This is information that was already out there. I'm reporting exactly what I hear and what I see that's online. So again, where there's smoke, there's fire, and a lot of people really can't accept that after somebody's death. Like, damn, like, you're gonna have regrets. And trust me, man, I have some regrets or two when it came to relationships to people who I lost. Most definitely, especially with my first girlfriend who died from drugs. Real shit. Real shit. So it's not me spreading false information. And for those that have something to say about that, if you don't like that part or want to hear it, don't comment and stay the fuck off my page. All right, that's what I have to say to that. Now, on top of the CGI computer animation of the famous little CGI clip that they do for John Jones, one thing I noticed about that clip, and it raises questions again, because I just read a comment when I was breaking things down in detail on the first video, and someone was like, man, you could be onto something. And I feel like I'm onto something now, because they have, the map out, or the best of a map out of the cave and where he got stuck at. So the rope is down this part, right? They drilled like a good sized hole for the rope to go through. Now I ain't got no computer animation skills, so bear with me on this. So they threw the rope through the loop they drilled, right? There's this long, not I don't want to say long, but kind of like a good sized tunnel, this part, right? Kind of going like such. And it's an opening. Now we know in this area you got two embedded rocks with another tight hole that John Jones fell in head first, right? Now, if you watch a lot of these videos that describe, even with the CG animation, the actual report, they pretty much exposed themselves by going, and I know this looks wrong as hell what I'm about to do with my hands, but this ain't that, I promise. So they's like, okay, we managed to get him out several times. Boom, boom, boom. So he wasn't fully stuck in that hole. Yes, he was 6 foot. I'm about around, almost around 6 foot. So I'm pretty tall too. So if you guys manage to keep getting them out like that, there are tall people that have that can find ways to get their legs out of things. Like, for example, I was in Nashville one day, and I live like an hour away from Nashville. And I was in elementary school at the time, and there was a small Volkswagen Beetle. And there was this check cashing place that me and my mom would go to, right? Now, this is before direct deposit and, before we did all that. This was back in the 90s, by the way. And, we had to travel, of course, outside of the town that we stay in to go to Nashville to go cash your check. Because once upon a time, we just couldn't cash checks, in the town we stay at now, which is, Columbia, which we've been here for almost 30 years. But back then, we had to go up to Nashville to cash checks, right? And there was like this ghetto ass restaurant right next door to this check cashing place. So as we're waiting for the bank or the check cashing place to open, there's this small Volkswagen Beetle, and you had 7 6-foot Chinese guys coming out of that Volkswagen Beetle. So if they're managed to get out of 6 foot, 7 Chinese men are managed to get out of a small Volkswagen Beetle, I'm pretty sure John Jones' legs could have fit through that hole when they were pulling on the rope. Even though they said, oh, well, his feet were hitting part of the rock, Rocks, I guess, depending on how they lay, if they lay face down from what, I have saw in my life, you have a bit of a curve rotation, going on. So I do possibly believe, yes, he could have gotten his legs out like that. But the more they kept dropping them because they said the pulleys and the rope kept breaking, okay, I understand that the parts that they were putting the equipment into to the walls, that was made out of clay, and they knew it was made out of clay. If you guys knew it was made out of clay, hear me out. If you knew it was made out of clay, and if you guys knew you had multiple problems keeping it in there, and then when you forced it in, it came back on John Jones's brother, broke his jaw, managed to bite his tongue almost through in half, busted this part of his face. Like, he was messed up from that metal piece that goes into the rock wall. Which then begs this. If they knew that part was clay and it wasn't going to work, why did they try? Again, there's a lawsuit here, man, for the family. What they could have done if knowing that they knew those walls were made out of clay, right? Because they call it nutty putty for a reason. Like, it's like a lot of different dirty clay walls, right? Like, naturally formed out of rock that's, I guess, very extremely hard to get through, right? Even though they had an easy time putting the shit back in, but it kept coming back out. If they knew that, knowing that they knew that, they could have attached that metal piece and that rope to the round ball part of the back bumper of those trucks and use that kind of like a pulley, when getting them out of there. And then really, to work with his legs. Really to work with his legs. You ain't gotta break his knees and his legs to get him unstuck. Because for those, who are tall, like myself, our legs, when we fully stretch them out, especially that knee area, it can bend a good bit, especially when you're double jointed, So it's easy to get out with that part. And every time they kept dropping him, he kept sliding a little bit more farther into that tight space where he died at. Now, what they could have done if they said, okay, look, man, we got to do something about this rock part, so we're going to pull you up much as we can. We want you to turn yourself around and kind of just rest right in that area where his legs would be stuck at, and where the hole with where the two big rocks made that tight hole where he kept falling into. So they could have rested him right there, in the middle. And they could have, he could have laid down for a while. By the time they're getting that rock unstuck, and they could be moving all the dirt and the clay around that area to make sure he wouldn't get stuck. As they were doing that, they could have lowered down food and most certainly water, definitely to him, so he could eat, keep himself, definitely hydrated. And they could have got him up head first. And that's one thing they kept, saying in a lot of the news feed reports, especially in the reports that were reported after, is like, yes, we managed to pull him several times, but we kept dropping him because you knew the wall of the the walls in the cave were eventually not stable to hold any metal objects whatsoever. So if you ask me, they knew that it wasn't stable. But why the hell did you keep doing it, and you caused a man, his brother, pain, physically pain, from the metal object that just flew out? Boom. I hope the hell he sued the shit out of them for that, man. At least if he didn't sue him, I hope they had the courtesy enough to pay for his medical bills, man. Because you knew the wall was weak. And that's what really gets me, because in the video, again, I was sharing some of my thoughts and some examples as well in this one, and it really goes to show the family needs to do a lawsuit, man, and sue these people. Big time, get them shut down. Sue the state, sue the city. And I guess John Jones was the second recorded person in the world to ever get stuck in a cave and die. I don't believe that to be absolutely true. I do believe that over the many of years, many a decades, that there are people that, in the U.S., I should say, in the U.S., to be stuck in caves and to die alone without anybody knowing, because if that's to be true, then why do we hear about, stories about people when they go exploring in these caves finding skeletal remains in areas that you wouldn't really think, or areas like, man, that's a tired area, I just found these skeletal remains, and a lot of it is either left there or reported and be able to bring back up and do, the genetics for it and figure out who this person is and see if they have any family, right? So I strongly believe that there are other people in that cave system. Again, like I said, they have history of the nutty putty caves of people getting hurt and lost and dying in the caves, which means to tell me, I strongly do believe that there are people that probably did get stuck in that cave and die as well before John Jones. They just don't want to come out and say it, because it's, I don't know, man. Because I know in some reenactment videos that I saw that, I think we all have seen on YouTube about this after like a decade later, a lot of people's like, man, it's impossible to get stuck in a small hole like that. And some of the videos I saw of that, I'm pretty sure other people saw, camera size, when it comes to like the lenses with recording videos, are going to either look much bigger than something is in person with their eyes, And maybe these people did try to reenact, John Jones's accident. And the whole space that they showed when they reenactment did look small. It did look about the same size that was, described, in my opinion. And this was a guy who looked pretty tall, pretty big, and he fit through with ease, and as well as some other people. So maybe there's truth to it. Maybe there is some truth to it. Maybe it is impossible to get stuck in tight places. Again, I'm not going to rule it out, because it from things that that I may have not have done myself, but for people that I have seen growing up, or just random strangers, like, these were people in tight places, that managed to get out. And they were, tall and a bit husky and still managed, to definitely get out. So maybe it's one of those super rare occasions with cave exploring, from what I hear. And especially with the other stuff that I have watched, again, I do believe that there is a lawsuit, most definitely there for the family, because those, again, from some of the comments I read about some of the family members of the workers that were there, and a lot of them say, they just didn't try, and a lot of the workers, some of them even, and one of them even came out and said, like, we just didn't try, to his kid. And now, after a decade later, his kid commented in the comments saying my father was one of the workers, and even he shared to me that they didn't even try. they have to live with that guilt. They gotta live with that for the rest of their lives. And going back to what I said, like, they decided to shut down the cave after John Jones's death, so nobody can ever explore those caves again. But even though they had multiple reports throughout the years of people getting lost, hurt, and died in the caves, and I do believe people did get stuck in those caves before and died, they just don't want to come out and say. And I truly believe that they have removed remains before to not leave evidence behind. I do. I strongly believe that. Reason why I get a bit upset talking about this, man, because it's so realistic, and the fact that they let this guy die, and all the things after about a decade, going on to 11 to almost 12 years, coming out of this, and people, deep diving into it, dissecting it, breaking it down like I am, it really raises a lot of questions, and a lot of things that these workers say, they may not know it, but you just now admitted, I guess, what could be considered murder to some degree. Especially if you go back and look at the news feed, aerial footage and stuff. They barely had anything brought with them. I have a hunch every time somebody goes missing and dies in one of them caves in the past that the city got paid for that shit. In other words, they got some money from somehow when somebody dies from the government when it's reported of a death like that, and the rescue team is probably purposely to show up late and then report in secret that look, we got another death, and then the rescue team gets a damn fat bonus from it. I strongly believe that. Let's call it a theory right now, but I strongly believe, something like that as well, because take a look at hospitals, for example. I hate to bring that up like that, but, there's some things that raises questions with that as well. Like, I believe hospitals and doctors and nurses get paid when you can't save somebody's life, knowing that you can. By the government once it's reported. Like, I strongly believe that. But yes, this story, it pisses off a lot of people now. Especially, again, when you really look into it and you dissect it and you talk about it much as in depth like I do and try to give examples. It's really heartbreaking and it's sad, and especially when you have children of some of these workers coming out and saying what their parents said, like, yeah, no, they didn't try. They admitted that to me, behind closed doors. The family, both of the families, from his ex-wife and from his, birth family, need to sue the state, sue the city, sue the company, man. I understand money's not going to make it better to have him come back. I get that. But sue them to see them fuckers. Sue the city. I mean, the state ain't really going to take a loss. But sue the city with the council. The people that are in them damn offices hurt their pockets. Sue the company to where they got to shut down. Sue it to where those rescue team members are doing life behind bars. Sue them for that. Yes, they may be money coming out of it in the end. It don't mean nothing. And I do believe, I agree with a lot of people that still say, look, man, they should go and get his corpse, man, and give him a proper burial. I'm part Native, like I said. And one of my religions coming up in my earlier years were Jehovah's Witness. Just like the Indians and Jehovah's Witnesses, we don't believe in burials. Indians do believe in cremation. Even if you may not want somebody to be cremated as well due to their wishes, then, you could bury them in a special type of a, native blanket that has been blessed as well. There are, you know, Jehovah Witnesses that have been buried due to their wishes and other, parts of, their culture that they're mixed with as well, that they may feel stronger attachment to than the religion that they were born into. So, me, I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't want my burial ground to be a cave. You know, that's not. I understand I'm part Egyptian as well, and the Egyptians, mummified their people and did bury them, wrapped up, but this is a modern time, and I gotta be honest, man. They really need to give that man a proper burial. You know, cremation at the most, something much more proper and more sensitized, rather than, man, we just gonna leave his body down now. These ain't the catacombs of England, for God's sakes, man. For those that may not know what I'm talking about, you have them catacomb areas that are closed off because, well, they decided to build a wall out of people's dead corpses because they couldn't bury them in the grounds no more because it was so filled up. This ain't the UK where they do that shit at. To me, displaying somebody's bones like that is disrespectful to the dead, and I can see why them catacombs is haunted, bro. They want to be put to rest, not to be on display for the world to see and for explorers to go see and shit. No. I hope John Jones, I hope his spirit and his soul are at peace and at rest, but I still hope that one day his family will definitely look back at these things, put pieces together, stumble on YouTube, and hopefully stumble upon my 2 videos that I just did about this, because this is the second one, and hopefully stumble upon other people's videos and really come to a conclusion and say, you know what, these people have a point. Let's look back into this. Get a good lawyer, sue the city, sue the company, get the workers behind prison bars, because that's where they belong. And please give him a proper burial, man, because I would not ever want to be dying at my resting place being a cave. I like caves to a degree, but I'm gonna like them from afar. I like Batman, but I ain't gonna live in a cave, I understand, some cases, a cave in certain circumstances, if you can find a big enough opening to where you can actually walk in straight up, like there is over across seas, other parts of the world, and some caves that are like that here in the U.S. Very, very some, then I can see that, because I can see them, being used for, I guess, to save your life or to hide out during something that maybe happened, stratosophic to the world, but eventually it's going to get to the point, man, you're going to have to leave the cave, because the cave is the last part in my life that I ever want to be killed in or have my final resting place at. I know there's a cave where people can go to and spend the night at, that's made into a special motel room. But damn, a lot of famous people do it, or a lot of rich people do it because it is expensive. But I no, I'm good. I'm good. It's like, I'm originally from Butte, Montana, so if anybody knows the history of Butte, about the mining accident. And them workers, they, unfortunately, those bodies are still down there, and those are their resting place, and Butte just rebuilt right back on top of it, man, on top of those people's bodies as well. And I've been to the museum, I know the history, and that's why Butte is so heavily haunted with a lot of the apartment areas and the houses, because where we stayed in a hospital apartment, then a hotel, and then a small house. And a lot of them areas, are haunted because you have the bodies of the miners who are down there still, and their spirits and souls can't rest, and they died due to a really big explosion accident. And they have some of the mining tunnels, where you can go into, but you can't fully go into them, but you can go into them. I've been in a couple of them, but you know, I wouldn't want to have my final resting place like that. I want it to be proper, like it's supposed to be. But I hope one day, and I'm gonna say this. I know this might be a bit cliche, and somebody might have something to say about this, but I hope his family and his ex-wife, will find justice and peace for him, because he doesn't deserve to be buried down there. But with that being said, man, I'm out.